If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come, bring my spirits up. There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed. I'm going to have a lot of pictures of Kristin in this one. She was just a beautiful soul. And sometimes I feel like we focus so much on Paul. I want to bring it back to Kristin as much as I can. So this is part 2 of the timeline, picking up in 2017, which would have been the 21-year missing mark for Kristin. I'm just going to go ahead and continue on reading the notes. On May 28th of 2017, there was a website set up, kristinsmart.org, and it's a tax-exempt nonprofit scholarship fund that people can donate to. And it's awarded to women seeking degrees in law enforcement, forensic science, or architecture. September 6, 2017, the sheriff calls the hillside search by the P, quote, beneficial but nothing further. Beneficial, end quote, but nothing further. September 25th, 2019, is when the podcast by Chris Lambert, Your Own Backyard, which I talk about all the time, I rave about it. You can't miss it if you're interested in this case at all. It's the best place for the best information. There was a massive renewal of interest in the case, and not just in SLO, but way beyond. More people remembered her, and a lot of people had thought that the case was solved because they confused Kristin Smart with Elizabeth Smart, who was a young lady that was kidnapped out of her bedroom. I recommend watching all 10 episodes in order, and Chris says it is likely he will be adding to the series, but probably not until the trial begins or possibly till the whole trial has completed. He's actually been subpoenaed in different things. I do believe the judge said that that can't be done because he's considered media, basically. I'm not sure on that. We'll know for sure when it goes to trial. You can see here the different titles of the episodes and the detail of what each episode contains. A lot of his information that we already knew, and there's a lot of new information. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, even the Sheriff's Department said new information from the podcast was helpful moving the case forward. I want to go back real quick to Elizabeth Smart, who is an amazing survivor. And she has actually gone on to help other people who have experienced trauma and things like this. And she's so compassionate. I'm very impressed by her. Over all these years, the community continues to hold vigils, memorials at Kristin's Point, car parades, and other things we've participated in. The particular vigil featured here is in front of Susan's house in Arroyo Grande on Brant Street, just past the historic village of Arroyo Grande. On January 18, 2020, there was a huge buzz, and this actually went viral. I remember this well, being at work, and all of those of us who have followed the case were really encouraged by this because there was information released by Denise Smart, Kristin's mother, that she was told by someone connected to the FBI. She was forewarned, the family needs to be ready, and I quote, the family needs to be ready is what his quote was. And there's been a new development in the case. Surprisingly, after all that exciting news, on January 22nd, 2020, it was revealed that the FBI information came from, I'm going to quote, former FBI agent, end quote. The family says there's no development expected in the near future. The sheriff's office said that the FBI nor the sheriff's office would be making any new announcements. January 29th, 2020, less than a week later, or about a week later, the sheriff's update announced that since 2011, they've served 18 search warrants. They've searched 19 locations for physical evidence. There's been 37 items submitted for DNA and modern testing. 140 new items recovered, including two of the family's vehicles, the Flores family vehicles. There's been 91 in-person interviews, 364 written reports regarding the case, and over $62,000 spent to date as of January 29, 2020. February 5th, 2020, FBI did multiple searches the same day. And whenever we get news here locally, we're very optimistic, and our expectations and hopes get risen each time. This was big and encouraging. All the locals were glued to the story, waiting and waiting. And they did search Susan's Arroyo Grande home, Paul's San Pedro, Southern California home, Paul's sister Ermelinda's Washington State home, and of course Ruben's home. February 11th, 2020, Paul was arrested in Los Angeles area. The community cried a collective cheer and thanked the Lord. There was finally progress, and he was locked up, even if it was just temporarily. It took a bit for his actual charges to come out publicly, but it ended up being a felon in possession of a firearm. His felonies were from DUIs going way back, and last I heard he had at least 4 DUIs. There's so much information to know regarding Paul. Next date on the timeline is March 15th, 2021. The sheriff's search warrant for Ruben's house, which is Paul's father's home. There was cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, and the search was expected to take up to 2 days. On March 16th, 2021, they concluded the search. It was very hush-hush as far as any findings. They did seize one of Susan's cars, and you'll see the episode I'm making with Susan. Her reaction is pretty incredible, if you ask me. Not in a good way either. Moving on to April 13th, 2021, Paul and Ruben were both arrested. Yay! Ruben was arrested here locally in San Luis Obispo County, and Paul was arrested in San Pedro. They also searched Ruben's property again at that time. April 14th, 2021, the San Luis Obispo District Attorney had a news conference where Dan Dow, the DA, spoke of the felony criminal charges against them and Dad being an accessory. Paul's murder was said to have occurred during a rape or an attempted rape, and the DA claimed that Ruben, of course, helped hide Kristin's body. This was the first time that law enforcement or the DA had officially revealed that the rape was connected to the case, although it was what many people had thought had happened. That was confirmation as far as what the investigation uncovered. Now we're on April 15th, 2021. Paul and Ruben appear in San Luis Obispo Superior Court for their arraignments. The video conference from jail is how it was done. There was no pleas, and the hearing was continued. Van Ruyen is the judge. He granted a gag order per Paul's attorney's request. Robert Sanger is his attorney. The gag order prevents public comment outside of the court. On that date, April 15, 2021, the judge did rule there is enough evidence to proceed. April 19, 2021, both Ruben and Paul pled not guilty. There was no bail for Paul. Judge Van Ruyen finds Paul a public safety risk. He sets bail reduction hearing for Ruben. There was a probation report regarding Paul, containing disgusting, disturbing, yet no surprises, where dozens of women were recounting sexual assaults by Paul, documenting his 25 years as a predator and a serial rapist. Documents also reveal the 710 White Court Arroyo Grande home had damning evidence that a body was buried there and recently moved. April 21, 2021, Ruben's bail was reduced down to $50, that's $50,000 from the original $250,000 bail. So, of course, he bailed out. And ever since the pending trial, Paul is still in SLO County Jail, and it'll be a year, April 21st of 2022. Hopefully, Paul's next stop from SLO County Jail will be a California state prison. I think San Quentin might be a good fit for him. He can go hang out with his buddy Scott Peterson there. Moving on the timeline, April 22nd, 2021. Attorney James Murphy, who represents the Smart family in the civil suit against Ruben for intentional emotional distress by concealing Kristin for 25 years. Murphy alleges the witnesses, Susan and her boyfriend Mike McConville, and I'm going to quote this, under cover of darkness, end quote, dispersed Kristin's remains at one or more locations. Mike and Susan were added to the lawsuit at that time. Next date is April 27, 2021, where the Los Angeles Times reveals Paul's criminal history, including 2 ongoing sexual assault investigations. The podcast actually interviews various witnesses and victims. It's really worth reviewing. It's shocking. And it really gives a clear MO as far as Paul the Creep, which is how he's referred to in many people's words, not just my own words. Lots of statements. Continue on for that same date. Paul's sexual perversions have been known since his high school days. Like once he got away with Kristin, it became part of the perversion, and he wasn't about to stop. For example, women described going with him willingly from bars, etc. They were very drunk. Does that sound familiar? Several have mentioned feeling drugged with no memory of what had gone on. They had injuries on different parts of the body the next day when they woke up. Apparently, the Los Angeles PD has videos where he would basically tape himself performing sexual acts on incapacitated women, which is terrifying to me. He's such a sicko, rapist, murderer, just disgusting human being. Paul's DNA was linked to a 2007 rape in Redondo Beach, California. No charges have been filed yet, possibly due to lack of enough evidence. The rapes are also part of the investigation separately, and the judge ruled against the SLO DA to bring in the Los Angeles police evidence to Kristin's case because it could show what he did to Kristin, but the judge said it's too prejudicial and will not allow the evidence in, which reminds me, of a former coworker of Paul's when he worked at Coca-Cola, and she was murdered, and some wonder if there's a connection. I wish there was enough available information to do a deep dive, but there isn't. May 17th, 2021, they both appear in court, and there's a date set for a 12-day preliminary trial, which will begin July 7th, 2021. Then, moving forward to June 21st, 2021, the judge sets more media restrictions for the hearing. June 30th, 2021, the defense attorney Sanger tells the judge that prosecution hasn't provided discovery, so the hearing is delayed for a week. July 6, 2021, the preliminary hearing was rescheduled again. The new date, July 20th, 2021. The DA plans to bring additional criminal charges to the case. July 12th, 2021, the judge confirms that on July 20th, 2021, the orders for 2 witnesses were not publicly identified that are going to be called. July 14th, 2021, is the first in-person hearing for Paul and Ruben. Even Susan was there. She appeared to oppose the subpoena to testify in her preliminary hearing, which was continued to August 2nd, 2021. Denise Smart and Stan Smart were approximately 12 other family members were also in attendance at the hearing. It was revealed at the hearing for the first time, officially, more pervy things that Paul had done and more evidence, such as rape, pornography, and other items found in his San Pedro home, including but not limited to videos allegedly showing himself raping incapacitated women. Paul allegedly made many of his own real-life rape videos. They also found 2 date rape drugs that could render women unable to consent. Dozens of women will attest to Paul's long-standing sexual predatory behavior. The prosecution stated, and I quote, Paul is a defendant who likes to rape and drug intoxicated women. That's who he is, end quote. Judge denied the motion to join the separate rape cases. He would, quote, invite error in the murder case. Those are legal terms, basically saying that he thinks it will muddy the waters and not enough evidence for the rapes or for the possible rape or attempted rape of Kristin. The judge denied the defense motion to close the proceedings to the public. The judge again postpones the preliminary hearing to August 2nd of 2021 per the defense's request. Moving on to July 15th, 2021. July 15th, 2021, the media announces access to new info related to the case as follows. Point number 1, human blood, possible clothing fibers, and samples from a 4x6 patch of disturbed soil under Ruben's deck. Archaeologists claim it's likely that a body was buried there and later removed, and the hole filled back in. Point number 2, numerous fetish, rape fantasy porn videos and similar Google searches were found on Paul's computer. In addition to his homemade R videos we already talked about, where he filmed himself R-ing unconscious or incapacitated women, including ball gags in their mouths. When I just use an abbreviation, it's because YouTube doesn't like certain words, and that's one of them. The next point is 29 women accuse him from creepy in high school to rape later, and many other women from the Los Angeles bars. Next point, January, on a wiretap, Susan's phone revealed that she instructed Paul to, quote, the other thing I need you to do is to start listening to the podcast. I need you to listen to everything they say so we can punch holes in it. Wherever we can punch holes, maybe we can't. You're the one that can tell me, end quote. Paul didn't say a word in response to that. Now we're moving on to August 2nd, 2021, where the preliminary hearing starts to establish probable cause to proceed to trial. September 20th, 2021. The preliminary ends after almost 2 months. The judge heard testimony from 36 prosecution witnesses, such as investigators, forensic people, dog handlers, house party witnesses, former Cal Poly students, Paul's ex-girlfriend. The defense, on the other hand, had 0 witnesses. In closing, I'm reminded how Paul lied and lied and lied some more to, quote, cover up Kristin's killing. The defense, to the contrary, stated, and I'll quote, there's no evidence, end quote, that Flores or anyone else committed a crime. Moving on to September 22nd, 2021, the judge rules sufficient evidence to proceed. The next hearing in person was scheduled for October 20th, 2021. And my episodes cover the more recent stuff that followed the 2021 last mentioned date here. So if you check my playlist, I pick it up and cover dates following that. I also find it extremely ironic that the newest court date of May 31st of the year 2022 happens to fall on the same week as the anniversary, 26 years from the date, that Kristin disappeared. And it's unique to me how a lot of times these trials do fall randomly on anniversaries like this. So as always, justice for Kristin. I'll be keeping an eye on all of this, and we want justice for her and her family. This has gone on long enough.
If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just be love and watch the smiles come.
Thanks for watching.
Bring my spirits up.
Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers.
There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.